Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brandon Piper. I'm the administrator of the Industry Services Division within DSPS. Thank you for joining us for our final quarterly webinar of 2025. As always, I hope you find something worthwhile in today's presentations, and I encourage you to suggest new topics via the link in our upcoming quarterly newsletter, which will be coming out this Friday. If everybody's ready, we are ready for the first presenter. Etta, are you there?
Yes, thanks. My name is Etta Stry. I'm just going to give a quick update on what the department is doing in the world of web content accessibility. So what are we doing and why? Well, in April next year, state and local government agencies across the nation are going to be required to meet new web content accessibility requirements. So in the next few months, you're going to see the department making various updates to its website in order to meet these requirements. But the updates that I think are going to most impact your work are going to be that of the department's forms. So this is true not only for your Division of Industry forms, like the forms that you use for plan review or inspection, but it's going to affect all of the department services. That includes credentialing. So most of the forms that you use to do business with the department are going to transition from a PDF format to an online platform called AccessGov. You may have seen the press release we put out earlier this year or noticed new messaging on our website, or maybe you've even used some of our forms that have already transitioned, but the bulk of these changes are going to happen within the next few months. So you're going to see your credentialing forms or plan review forms. Most of these are going to transition in the next few months. You may be wondering where you can find these new forms, but these are not new forms. These are just the old forms that are transitioning formats. So you'll find them you'll find them in the same places that you find them now. When an AccessGov version becomes available, the link that you currently use is just going to redirect you to the AccessGov version. This means you can use your saved bookmarks or the links on the website, or even like a link from an old email. Those things will still work. You don't have to change where you go. Our site's going to automatically redirect you to the most current version of the form. So you're probably wondering what this means for you, like what is actually changing for you as the end user. There's a couple advantages. So not only is this online platform going to help us meet accessibility requirements, but it also provides us an opportunity to replace some of our hard copy processes with a more electronic workflow. So for example, you might have a form that requires multiple signatures, maybe like an applicant and an owner. The applicant's going to be able to electronically sign the form through the system, and then by providing the owner's email address, the form is going to automatically be routed to the owner for their electronic signature. This does mean that all parties involved are going to need to kind of be vigilant in keeping track of their email and making sure that they're looking out for action items on a project, but I kind of like to think they're already doing that. So should not be much of a change there. After completion of all forms, you will get a form submit, a confirmation window like you see on the screen here. And that's going to provide you an opportunity to download the form as you've completed it. So some forms are going to have that produced file with a specific title for the file. Others are just going to have that download submission link, but you will always have an opportunity to download the form that you've completed so far. And in many cases, the form's also going to be emailed to you, just depending on the email addresses that are provided and the workflow of the form. Each form provides specific instructions for its particular workflow. So it's really important that you read and follow the instructions specific to that form. Some forms are going to require you to print a PDF and upload into, say, eSLA, kind of like you do now for a PDF, but other forms are going to allow you to submit directly within the system. So previously in a PDF form, you may have had to fill out the PDF, save it, email it somewhere else, and those steps have been simplified so that when you press the submit button, it automatically gets sent to the department. But like I said, each form, the instructions for each form are different, so you will have to make sure that you follow the instructions specific to that form. And then lastly, you are in no way required to create an account. We understand that you have many accounts with the state, multiple with DSPS even. So we are in no way telling you that you need to create an AccessGov account. However, if you complete a lot of forms for the department, especially ones that require multiple signatures, they have to get routed around, or even just if you fill out a lot of forms, you might find it useful to have an AccessGov account so that you can keep track of your forms and kind of keep track of the history. You can see in this screenshot here that you have a menu on the left that tracks all of the forms that you filled out and also saves a copy of the completed form. So if you missed that last screen or you missed your email, the completed form is saved on the left there. So this is also good if you have forms that are routed for multiple signatures. You can kind of track the status, who has the form, which signature are you waiting for. The account is good in that way. And also the AccessGov account uses My Wisconsin ID, and a My Wisconsin ID is slowly being utilized by other Wisconsin departments, other agencies throughout the state. So you might even have a My Wisconsin ID if you do certain business with like DNR or DOT. They already use that. So anyway, that was just a quick overview of the upcoming changes for DSPS forms. If you have any questions about the new forms, you can contact your respective program tech boxes. And also, we intend to provide some guidance on maybe some of our more complicated forms and how to fill out those complicated ones specifically. So be on the lookout for that. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Etta. Next up from our plumbing group, we have Mike McNally. Mike, are you there?
Yes, I am. Let's see here. Apologize. Got to hide presenter view. There we go. All right. Etta, can you confirm that I got that correct? My slide is up. Okay. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Brandon. My name is Mike McNally, Section Chief for the Plumbing and Pools Program at the department. I'm just going to give you a couple high-level overview updates from the plumbing program. First and foremost, before I do that, if you do have any plumbing-related type of questions, you certainly can contact our Plum Tech box. It's an email inbox that's monitored every day by our staff, and then down in the lower left-hand corner is the address. So if you have any questions, certainly reach out to them via that email. All right, so the first thing I'm going to talk about, just a high-level overview of our plumbing plan review operations, plumbing and pool operations. Currently, right now, we're seeing about 225 to about 250 plan reviews per month. In the last couple months, most specifically in the months of September and October, we saw a pretty significant surge of plans, more than we've ever seen, or at least the highest we've ever seen in the last 3 years for those 2 months respectively. And so we are trying to diligently try and pull those, put those out back to the submitter with a conditional approval letter as quickly as we can. However, we are currently averaging about 25 to 30 business days. Again, that's what our goal is. Again, besides this last little surge in September and October, that's what we're currently shooting out. In addition to that, the one thing I just want to point out is that currently right now, about 25% of the plans we do receive, we do have additional information requests. This is a wide gamut of things. It could be missing calculations, we're missing specs, whatever it may be. There's something that is causing us not to finish that application. So just as a friendly reminder, please make sure you're looking at the plumbing checklist and following that to a T to make sure that you have all your I's dotted and T's crossed in terms of all of the content that's required for us to do a complete plan review. All right, now shifting gears a little bit, I'm going to talk about some alternate approval updates that the program recently had revised. And so just bringing it to your attention, those revisions. We have 3 in particular. The first is the VersaCheck products, which is made by a company called the Vista Water Group. We updated that alternate approval back in September. The second one is the ProVent, which is a single stack drain, waste, and vent system. They updated their ProVent manual back in August. So I'm going to provide you an update of what that change was made to their manual. And the last is the Uponor, or the PEX-A pipe and fittings product from Uponor. They made a recent revision, and so I'll address what that revision was back in September. Just as a FYI, any and all product approvals or alternate approvals, you can certainly look them up on the public lookup in ISLA. There's all of our alternate approvals, all of our alternate standards, product approvals are located on the public website or the public lookup feature within the ISLA website. As it relates to these three individual projects, the department is in no way endorsing these products or systems and not responsible for any situation which may result in its use. This is just an FYI in terms of what was updated on these alternate approvals. So the first thing that we updated was the VersaChecks, which is the alternate approval number is PP-102-200019-PTO-AA. And what we worked with the Vista Water Group is to confirm that all of their products are now tested and certified to the ASME A112 18.1 and 18.3 standards. If any of you are on the call recall, there were a number of the VersaCheck products that were not tested and certified to those standards. Since August of this last year, Vista Water Group was able to contract with a company called QAI to get all of their products, their VersaCheck products at least, tested and certified to those standards. In addition to that, there was a table 202, which listed out all the high and low hazard situations in which the products can be used. Well, we have currently revised that table, and I'll show you exactly what we revised in the next upcoming slides. In addition to that, we added a third table, which is listing all of the acceptable and unacceptable applications that, in partnership with the Vista Water Group, we confirmed what particular situations the VersaCheck would be acceptable in, and obviously which ones they would be unacceptable in. And this is just a couple screenshots of what the VersaCheck product is. Again, it can be used in multiple situations based on the product listing. Speaking of listing, again, like I stated, all of the VersaCheck products are now listed to the ASME 18.1 and 18.3 standards. There is a copy of the listing report that is appended to the alternate approval letter. What you see on the screen here is just a snapshot, a couple snapshots of that actual listing. You can go right to the alternate approval and take a look at it for yourselves. Now, as it relates to the old table 202, as you can see, it listed all of the products, the VersaCheck products, and which standard they were applicable to, and if they were acceptable for a high hazard or a low hazard situation, back siphonage, back pressure. And there was a lot of confusion with this table, the use of it, what particular installations. It caused a lot of controversy. There was a lot of questions that were being sent to the department. There was, again, a lot of confusion. So in working with the Vista Water Group, we decided to just basically get rid of this table altogether because it was just misleading in a multitude of different ways. And what we did is we replaced it with a new table 2, which is basically the table straight out of the listing report from the company QAI. And that is the actual model and what it is exactly, what standard that model is applicable to. In addition to that, we created a table 3 of 3, and this is just a high-level snapshot of the table. The table is much longer than this, so I encourage you to go look at the alternate approval yourself to see. But basically, this table was created in partnership with the Vista Water Group as to determine what are acceptable applications and what are unacceptable applications for the VersaCheck product. Now, we did have a couple disclaimers at the very bottom, which is this list is not exhaustive. We know that there are a multitude of different scenarios out there, installation scenarios that are kind of the, yeah, but what about this? What about that? And so we put in there that basically if you got a situation, give us a holler. You know, you can also talk with the Vista Water Group as well about your particular situation and whether or not a VersaCheck may be acceptable in that particular situation. In addition to that, you can always go and refer back to the standard, whether it's the 18.1 and 18.3 or the ASSE 1024 or the 1032, and determine which situation you might have. In addition to that, we also itemized that existing installations that, say, an older building with an older faucet that didn't meet the 18.1 standard, you can certainly use the VersaCheck product for that particular situation. Moving on to the ProVent systems, which is the second alternate approval I want to talk about today. That is PP0225000001 PTO-AA. In this particular case, ProVent approached the department to revise specifically, or actually add technically, Rule 3.4 to address vertical drops in horizontal branches. There were a number of situations where ProVent systems were installed and there was something in the way, whether there was a beam or an HVAC ductwork or whatever it may be. The engineering manual from ProVent did not address that you could have vertical drops in horizontal branches. And so ProVent submitted a revision to us and we took a look at it, took a hard look at it. We probably spent about 2-3 months looking at it to verify there was no controversy or contradictions within the plumbing code. And in 3.4, specifically, which was itemized from the engineers at the ProVent system, they developed criteria for a vertical drop in a horizontal branch. Now, the big key here is that if you have changes in less than 45 degrees, so that's basically vertical by definition in the plumbing code, your limit, you do not have to increase the pipe size. And also on top of that, that vertical distance cannot exceed, or you can only do a maximum of 40 inches or less. So you can go vertical basically on a horizontal branch, as long as you're not exceeding that 40-inch. In addition to that, there's the development length rule that you have to take into consideration as well. And that is basically you have to also take into consideration the development length of that horizontal branch. So in the case of the 3.4 rule, if you have a 4-inch branch, you're limited to only 27 feet. If you have a 2 or 3-inch pipe, then you're limited to only 15 feet in development length. So that just rounds out at least the updates that I had for the plumbing program. And so I will now go on to, I'm sorry, apologize. I had one more for the Uponor. We had the Uponor, the PEX-A pipe fittings. That is number PP0223000004 PTO-AA. And in the Uponor PEX-A piping, the Uponor folks submitted a revision to address the fact that they have a provision in their manual that allows the dedicated fixture supply pipe to be of the same nominal size as the single fixture being supplied, regardless of the calculated velocity. And we outline this in stipulation number 7 within the alternate approval. So stipulation number 7 in the alternate approval basically says that. It says that if you have a fixture that's being supplied, let's just say, let's use a shower valve, for example. Shower valve has a 1/2-inch inlet on it, so therefore you can use a 1/2-inch pipe. However, the biggest factor or I guess rule is that it has to be 25 feet or less. So you don't have to worry about the velocity requirements or doing any special calculations. As long as it's when the development length is 25 feet or less, you can use that same pipe size for fixture supply to supply that individual fixture. And we also noted that it's the same note in page 59 of the manual itself that states the same exact thing. So now that has completed all of at least the plumbing updates. So I will now turn it over to, I think, Tim, correct?
Correct, Mike. Thanks. For Public Sector Safety Group, we have Tim Condon. Tim, are you there?
I am, if you can hear me.
I can.
Ooh, wow. I did not do that. All I did is hit take control and it blew up. I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing or not, but yikes. Okay. I don't know how everybody else was viewing the presentation. It looks as though Mike wasn't going through slides as he went through stuff. Or maybe my connection's weird. I'm just getting myself to my starting slide.
Yep, go ahead. Keep doing that.
Just tripping out a little bit. My mouse isn't fully synced to the presentation either. If you can hear me clicking like crazy. Very frustrating times. So one screen away from there we go. Oh, there is a gap. So that's me, Tim. I'm the northeast corner of the state, occupational safety inspector. Similar to what Mike mentioned, we have a tech box for email inquiries for our program as well. Basically, every program in our division does. Highly encourage you to use that if you have either general questions or if you have specific questions for your regional inspector and you're not sure exactly who it is, you can still send it there and it will get shuffled and routed appropriately. So today we're primarily going to talk about engineering illness reporting. This is actually a rehash. I thought we had done it December 24, but going through my calendars and whatnot, we actually did it December 23. We probably could do it every year. It's really the same information, but as I rib people about it, once I help them do this stuff from year to year, it's, we get them all squared away. Say, okay, great. Now you've got 11 months to forget everything we just talked about. And it's more funny just because it's so true. So engineering illness reporting, this is essentially the same as private sector does for OSHA. 1904 standard if you're in the safety industry, but for state administrative codes, SPS 332 is public employee safety and health. Within that, it states all Wisconsin public employers must complete and submit the summary form by March 1st of each year for the previous calendar year. If no work-related injuries, illnesses occurred in that year, you still do need to submit it. If applicable, you can use zeros to indicate no cases. Following a link is for our electronic reporting system. The mnemonic device stands for electronic safety and licensing application. We do no longer accept paper forms of the SPD 10710, which is the summary. If you send us one, oftentimes people try to sneak it in a photocopy or a PDF to our tech box or to individual emails. If that happens, we're going to have a cow basically, but we'll contact you and see what the issue is as far as if you're having problems with your profile in our system or if some other electronic glitch or you just plain haven't registered in the system yet, we'll get you up and running. So that's it for that slide. So this is what we're talking about. This is a sample summary from a fictional user and fictional township. But this should, whoops, it wouldn't work at all. Now all of a sudden it's working on its own. So if that looks familiar to you, great. If you're responsible for it and it doesn't look familiar to you yet, I guess you've got work to do. And again, like I'll probably say this 20 times throughout the presentation. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. I mean, this time of year, the bulk of what we do this time of year is consulting with customers. So next thing we'll get into is the entry illness packet, SPD 10710 packet. It's 8 or 9 pages on our website. And it's essentially a cliff notes, the ins and outs, highlights and lowlights of engineering illness reporting. It gives you statutory, DSPS's statutory authorities, definitions used in the system, references to state administrative codes. It gives you the framework for determining what is a reportable injury and illness. This system's very, very, very standalone. It's if you're also responsible for workers' comp reporting, things like that. Injury and illness and workers' comp are two very different systems, different definitions, different methodology. So if you do both, try to get that into your head and remember they're not the same deal. For example, as you intake any bump and bruise and scrape that happens at your workplace, if you fill out a first report of injury for workers' comp and then automatically submit all of those injuries on your injury and illness summary, you're going to have a really, really, really large and misleading injury rate, again, which will result in calls or a field visit or something. But usually if we have a crazy rate, we assume one of two things: you're over-reporting or you have a math error. And oftentimes it can be done or kind of help you out for those situations, either by email or through a phone call. So the packet also gets into, we'll get into this just a little bit more, a couple slides down the road. Also gets into the difference between, again, very specific terminology for the system, difference between medical treatment and first aid. This flow chart to assist a simple way to determine if somebody's reportable or not for this system. A sample log, injury and illness log is another valuable tool if you use that to do your initial input of an injury and then follow up in the log as it progresses. It's a very great tool to easily determine what needs to go from the log onto the final summary at the end of the year. Give you formulas for average number of employees, total number of hours worked. Those are, again, decades old formulas. If you're a large employer, they're very good, very helpful. If you're a small employer, township, small village, nobody punches a clock, under 20 people, things like that, those formulas are absolute garbage, just completely not applicable and not workable in your situation. I would definitely suggest reaching out to your regional inspector in those scenarios too. We can help you to accurately guesstimate what those numbers should be. And if things don't change drastically from year to year, once we establish those numbers, is not necessarily against the rules to reuse those numbers from the previous year. So to get down the right path on that can be very valuable. Okay, so gonna go through this very one-on-one. Go through the print screens to direct you to that injury and illness summary, the SBD 10710 packet, not the summary, the packet. So this is that's our homepage for DSPS. Go to programs, then you click on A through Z program list. And then click on public sector employee safety. Once you're on the landing page of public sector employee safety, scroll down to the bottom third of the page. There will be 3 headings on that page. It'll be forms, frequently asked questions, and publications. Click on forms. And then, whoops, I'm one screen behind. Click on forms and this comes up. Whoops. Click on forms, this comes up. Those first 2 obviously are related to injury and illness reporting. Quick disclaimer, we usually have a couple dozen employees who are being super diligent and trying to be a straight A student and somehow think that the medical evaluation questionnaire, the 3rd heading there, that is related to respiratory protection program and has absolutely nothing to do with injury and illness reporting. So I keep forgetting to submit a correction order, bring it to the correct people's attention. We need to put a thicker black line between those 2 or add a note just to make it a little more obvious that it's not related. So anyway, the packet is the second heading there. And the first one is that injury illness log, which I mentioned before, as far as like a first place to enter injuries. You can print that out. I think it's also, I don't think it's a writable form, but you could probably save it and make it writable on your own. So that's the packet. Once we get into the packet, again, page one's definitions, statutory authority, administrative codes. Page two, super important, by far the most important part, as far as just knowing what to do with your injuries, illnesses, whether they're reportable. Left column gives you left column, middle, one of those 5 categories. Talk on it. It has to meet one of those 5 categories: death, days away from work, restricted work duty, or medical treatment beyond first aid. If it meets one of those, it's going to be reportable. Now, the last heading there is the real problem. Medical treatment beyond first aid. All of those definitions are very unique to this, very counterintuitive in a lot of ways. Right column, what is medical treatment? And in most of this is taken directly from OSHA's references. So in typical government fashion, they defined medical treatment by giving you a bunch of things that it isn't. So kind of an inverse definition. And then below that, what is first aid? Oodles of examples of what first aid are. So this page is very, very important, just as far as navigating your way through an injury and illness process. This is the log, another page within the summary, not sure which page it is, or another page within the packet, excuse me. And this is, again, a pretty simple tool to help you determine whether or not your injury or illness is something we actually need to know about. You go right down the middle, you get 1, 2, 3, 4 yeses, you have to report it. And if it veers off to the left or right for any other of those reasons, you don't report it. On to our website. Excuse me, I forgot to grab a glass of water before I started here. Okay, there's the power rate. So this is the website. If you've never done business with DSPS in the past, if you've never registered an amusement ride, submitted a commercial plan review, registered a boiler, etc., never owned a mobile home, then you are going to go left-hand side, lower blue button, new DSPS customer. But again, to be a broken record, if you're just plain not sure, or would rather have us check first, I would very, very much encourage you to do that versus making like multiple conflicting user profiles, customer profiles. Very easy for us to run your name or your previous email addresses, current email address, and just see if there's another contact in the system for you already. And then lower right does not apply. It's talking about creating new accounts. To be doing this summary, you are either a municipal employee, a state agency employee, a public school district employee. As far as I know, the creation of any of those is pretty rare. Excuse me, too much power rate. So if you have the overwhelming desire to create a new account for City of Madison, I guarantee you there's plenty of accounts in there in our system for City of Madison already. There's no need to create accounts. We just have to get you associated to the correct account. So once you do your profile on the left, then again, contact your inspector, and they can associate you to the correct municipal or school account and save everybody a whole bunch of headache. So assuming you get registered for your user profile, you contact your inspector, you get associated to the correct municipal or school account, this is what your dashboard will look like in our electronic reporting system. If you hover over your name in the upper right, Mr. DSPS Tester, There you can say, you can click on Manage Business Organization. Then you will see your City of Madison account, and you can change the main contact email, main contact phone number, stuff like that from that page. So this should be what your dashboard will look like. You can see an old engineers report here on the bottom. That scenario means that you created that summary. If you don't see any old engineering summaries there, that means you basically just haven't created any as yourself yet. You can only see reports that you've done. So if you're a new employee and you just want old data to go by and give you a jumping off point, contact your inspector, surprise. And we can go into the system, create all those previous year's summaries, save them as a PDF and just email them to you, and you'll have all that historical data. So next slide, take us to doing the process you would actually screen by screen if you want to actually start doing your summary. So initially from your dashboard, you want to make sure you're at the permit tab, which would be the highlighted in white, so you know you're on the permit tab. Then you're going to go click on new application below that row. Once you get the new application, that takes you to application selection. First tab, you're going to hit permit. Despite our endless battles when they were creating this system for us, instead of a report or summary, they termed this as a permit for some reason. So select permit, and then once you start selecting these, the other menus will pop down as give you more options. So just fill it out like that. And then the bottom for the account, when you click that caret down, that's where your City of Madison account will pop up. Select that. Save and continue on the bottom. After that, it'll take you to probably a address verification page. Either that, or it might skip that and go right to entering the summary information, where you're entering your number of entries per each category, etc., just like we saw in the sample summary in the beginning. So again, you get through the process, enter all the information. If you want to print out a copy, go to the options tab on the gray options tab on the right side of your record. It will give you a option to print report. You can print it and post it in your workplace as you're required to do. And everybody's happy. Common questions. So this applies more often for municipal clerks, things like that. If you want to reuse the clerk's address that was in office before you, you can do that. But shocker, you're gonna have to contact your regional inspector. And then we basically get that email address, we can scrub it from that previous person's profile, make their contact profile inactive as far as their association to that municipality, and scrub the email and make it quote unquote clean. And then you can create your profile and use it again. Second question, we already talked about that a little bit. You're only going to see on the bottom part of your dashboard there, you're only going to see the previous entry limit summaries that you created. If you haven't created them, you can't see them from there. And lastly, if you're a new reporter, talk about this already again too. If you're a new reporter, if you feel brave enough to make your contact profile yourself, you can do so. But once you do that, do not attempt to make accounts. Contact your inspector, and we will associate you to the correct account. It usually takes a minute or two, if that. This is our district map. District 6 has been filled. We will be probably updating the map for District 6 in the coming weeks. We are in the hiring process for District 1, doing interviews next week, so fingers crossed there as well. And again, if when all else fails, go to the safety and health tech box and leave us a message there in the lower left again. And the questions there in that slide is just a teaser because this format does not allow questions, and that's why I volunteered to do this in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Next up, we have with our commercial building group, Justin Gavin. Justin, are you there? Justin, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Hi, sorry about that. Justin Gavin, I'm the section chief for commercial building plan review, which covers structural and HVAC. Thank you for your time. If everybody wants to take 30 seconds or 10 seconds and get up out of your chair and stretch out a little bit, it might be advantageous. We still have another 30 or so slides, so bear with us, please. As Mike McNally stated and Tim stated, if you have any questions concerning code questions, please feel free to reach out to our building tech email that's right down below. And if it's one question, that's the best time and you'll get a really good answer. First thing I wanted to go over is we have completed the 2021 code insert sheets. They are currently available on dsps.wi.gov. So if you're not familiar with the website, I'm going to attempt to show you how to find it. And I'm assuming that you're not seeing my screen right now. Is that correct, Brandon?
Correct, we can see it.
Did you see it? Do you see our website on it or not?
The 2021 code insert sheets available.
Okay, Etta, if I share my screen really quick, can I show the website if I share my screen? And then if I stop sharing, we'll go back to this presentation.
Well, you can do that. I'll bring the presentation back.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to confirm that we can see the website currently.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So to find the inserts, you go to our website. This is the first screen that comes up. You'll see this banner. Go to programs. Go to A to Z program list. And scroll down to commercial buildings. And scroll down again. If nobody has seen the presentation yet, you'll, for the code updates, if you click on this link, it'll take you to the code updates that we had Randy Dahman do. But for the inserts, you would continue to keep scrolling down to publications. You would click publications, and then right down here, you would see the 361 to 366 inserts. They come up in a PDF type format. Typically, most people will print those out on colored sheets, punch holes into them, and if they have a 3-ring binder, they would insert them. The pages will tell you where to insert the pages, and you'll be on your way. So please utilize that. We put a lot of work into that to get those up in the time that we had. So that's in there now. So Etta, I'm going to stop sharing. Is that okay?
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Sorry for the. Oh. Bear with me.
Should be able to take control and you on.
All right. We're good to go now?
Yes.
I'm sorry. The presentation's down for a second. All right, let me do this. Yeah, I don't see it I just see the people.
All right. Do you want to try to take control again?
Good. Yeah, I'll take control. Thank you. Sorry about that, folks. Every time I hit the next button though, it clicks off sorry.
You can use your arrows on your keyboard maybe. Does that advance it?
No, I just have the team screen with all the people on it. I don't even see the presentation right now.
Brandon, do you see it?
Yeah, I do.
I know Kirk said he sees it, but the only thing I think I can do at this point is if I open up the presentation, I can share my screen and then kick it back to you. Does that
Sounds
work?
good. Yep.
Okay. We'll pivot there. Just give me a second, everybody, please. Almost there. All right, we pivoted. Can everybody see my screen now? I hope.
Yes.
All right. I apologize for that. So now that we hopefully took some time and marked out and downloaded our insert sheets, the second thing I wanted to go over was preliminary plan reviews. So essentially, this is a consultation. We've gone over this before in a couple other presentations, but I wanted to bring it back up. Our presentation or our preliminary plan reviews are up about 25% this year over last, and we have been promoting them quite a bit to try and get people involved with them. And why do a preliminary plan review? And it's basically you get a consultation with a commercial building plan reviewer. And if you have a difficult alteration, if you have an addition that might have a firewall separation issue or some difficult sprinkler requirements, or especially if there's a petition for variance, it's highly recommended to do the preliminary plan review. Our goal is to have those scheduled within 1 to 2 weeks of submission, and the submission is done through ISLA. There is a charge; it's $80 per hour. But the time is charged for the meeting and any subsequent letter that follows. If during the preliminary, if it's like one question that can't be answered through building tech, and it's something we can relatively take care of in a 15-minute phone call, we won't charge you for a preliminary plan review. But if it's in depth and takes some time and there's some back and forth, you're going to get, we're going to go through the process. The advantage of that is the plan reviewer of record is going to review your plan, and you'll have that, that conversation with that person. That same person, that follow-on plan will go to that person, and they'll be able to complete your plan review. It does increase the odds of the plan approval going through on the first submittal, especially with difficult plans, because you're kind of working through those issues in the front end, and it'll just save you time and effort rather than going back and forth with additional information requests. The next thing I want to go over, one of the things that we changed in our code was on SPS 361.36, the expiration of plan approval. Alterations in HVAC plans now expire 2 years after the date of approval. Prior to that, it was 1 year. The caveat is plans that were submitted within that grace period, that 60-day grace period we had, and submitted under the 2015 code, will still have that 1 year. Another thing that came up that people have been questioning about is IECC C403.7.4.1, which requires energy recovery ventilation systems in commercial buildings, R2 specifically. 4 stories or more is when it would apply for Wisconsin. There are some exceptions. So dwelling units that utilize natural ventilation in living or garage areas, you can use natural ventilation for that. However, corridors and common areas would need to comply with C403.7.41 unless you utilize SPS 364.02 paragraph 2, which stipulates that natural ventilation is allowed for any occupancy, provided an engineer design indicates how the ventilation satisfies the needs of the occupancy. So we'll leave it up to the architects and engineers to come up with that, but there are some exceptions. But unless you meet those exceptions, you have to comply with that. IECC C403.7.4.1. Another thing that came out in our code we want to make people aware of is in dwelling units, kitchens no longer allow natural ventilation. So this requires 100 CFM intermittent or 25 CFM continuous. Now this can be achieved with a kitchen hood, a range hood above the kitchen area. It could be a microwave that has that capability to exhaust to the outside, or it could be an ERV inside the unit that might have the individual exhaust inlet that is balanced to 25 CFM continuous. So those are 3 options for that, but that's something that is required with the 2021 code adoption. The last thing I want to touch on was partition loads. We're going to take a quick look at that, and that's under IBC section 1607.5 and why they matter. This will help designers and owners understand how structural design supports long-term flexibility and safety. So what are partition loads? So IBC 1607.5 addresses what are referred to as partition loads. And these apply when interior walls and partitions could be changed or relocated over time. Even if the specific layout or future wall isn't known, the floor system might be designed to handle those possible changes. So the code requires a minimum of 15 PSF partition load unless the floor is already designed to support a live load of 80 PSF or more. This ensures future modifications won't overload the structure. Why does it matter? So buildings may evolve throughout their life cycle, tenants change, uses shift, and layout modifications are common. The floors are designed only for the original layout shown in the construction documents. The building could later need reinforcement, or worse, experience structural losses, just to adjust interior walls. Partition load requirements protect owners from those costly surprises and ensure occupant safety as layout changes may occur over time. So how does this apply to R2 occupancies? So these requirements are not just for offices. They apply to R2 occupancies as well, such as apartments, senior living, and student housing. Common interior changes, such as converting the unit layout, can shift wall weights to new areas of the floor. But by designing for partition loads at the outset, those changes can be made without jeopardizing structural integrity. So what are our expectations at DSPS? So when submitting plans to DSPS, design team should clearly document how partition loads are addressed, including structural notes referencing IBC 1607.5, indication of whether design loads already exceed 80 PSF, and engineering calculations showing the required 15 PSF load when applicable. Clean, accurate documentation helps streamline plan review and reduces resubmittals. The key takeaways: partition loads ensure floors can safely support future partition changes. A 15 PSF load is required unless 80 PSF live load is provided. Office building and R2 buildings may undergo layout modifications, making this requirement especially important. And finally, clear documentation supports smoother DSPS review and long-term building safety. With that, Etta, I'm going to stop sharing. And if you can bring up the presentation for April.
Thank you, Justin. Next
Thank you.
up from our Fire Prevention and Safety and Health Group, we have Gary Peck. Gary, are you there?
Good afternoon. I am. Thank you. All right. Once again, good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. I hope everyone is doing well. I'm Gary Peck, District 3's Fire Prevention, Fire Department Safety and Health Coordinator. I'd like to thank you all for your time this afternoon. We're going to highlight a few of the great things our Fire Prevention, Fire Department Safety and Health Program has accomplished the last few months, and then provide a look ahead of the incredible things we have planned for next year, 2026. This past fall, from August through the middle of November, our Fire Prevention, Fire Department Safety and Health Program team had the honor and privilege to conduct 14 separate in-person and online virtual presentations throughout the state of Wisconsin, which also included presenting at 3 different tactical colleges and even presented again at this year's Wisconsin Fire Inspectors Association Conference on October 23rd. This year's Fire Prevention, Fire Department Safety and Health Fall Outreach Training Program once again saw record-breaking attendance for all our presentations. This year's training presentations subjects included fire inspections on migrant housing, NFPA 1403, live fire training requirements, updates on our Wisconsin Craig 1300 community risk reduction dashboard. We had a great presentation from Sarah Brown on the nearest transition, what fire departments needed to know, and a great presentation on Wisconsin Image Trend Elite updates for nearest as well. And just like the past years, this year's presentations will be posted on our website very, very soon. And we are already looking ahead. Our fire program team is already looking ahead and looking forward to our 2026 outreach training program and looking ahead for our future presentations. Looking ahead to next year, 2026, one of the big events happening nationally for the fire service and of course happening for our Wisconsin fire departments as well is the transition from NFIRS, the National Fire Incident Reporting System, to NERIS, the new National Emergency Response Information System for fire department incident reporting, which is starting January 1st. What our Wisconsin fire departments need to know for the nearest transition is that every Wisconsin fire department should have hopefully received the November 3rd Wisconsin onboarding email with details, with instructions on how to properly onboard to NERIS. And hopefully they should have already successfully onboarded to NERIS. If a fire department had not received this email and has not onboarded already, please reach out to us. Please reach out to your state fire coordinators or Sarah Brown, and we will obviously assist you with this process. Also, here's some other friendly reminders for the upcoming NERIS transition. NFIRS, please be aware of this. NFIRS is planned for decommissioning in early 2026. All 2025 NFIRS incident data must be valid and ready for release by January 31st, close of business, to be included in the public data release. And this is very critical and to be aware of is NERIS will not consume or connect with your historical NFIRS data, which means that fire departments need to have a process in place to file and maintain their previous NFIRS incident data, your previous incident reports submitted in NFIRS prior to NFIRS being decommissioned. Otherwise, you won't have access to your NFIRS data. So please be aware of that. Also, this current year, 2025, has been a hybrid reporting year. It's crucial to stop reporting to NFIRS once you begin with NERIS. And we do suggest starting at the beginning of a month to minimize confusion. And if you haven't started using and reporting to NERIS yet, your fire department will shift to NERIS on January 1st, 2026. And for data entry will cease after December 31st, 2025. Your fire departments will have the month of January to continue to make updates, changes, and entries for 2025 data until January 31st. But obviously, please don't wait until January 31st to make the changes, because you just never know. Your changes may not get accepted. So please be aware of that. And again, as always, please contact us, your state fire prevention coordinator, Sarah Brown, and we will help and support you through this critical transition. Moving on. Continue to look ahead to 2026. Our fire prevention, fire department safety and health team will also be very busy with the 2026 fire department's 2% fire dues self-certification process, which opens on January 1st and closes at midnight on April 1st. Some friendly reminders on the fire department self-certification process. When fire chiefs and municipality clerks log into their ESLA account, they need to also verify that their contact information is correct. That's very important, especially for new clerks and new chiefs. And if you do have a new clerk or new fire chief and they do not currently have an ESLA account, please have them reach out directly to Sarah Brown and she will assist them with creating an account for ESLA. All municipality clerks and fire chiefs must submit a self-certification, again, within the proper time frame, which is January 1st to midnight, April 1st, or the municipality may not be eligible for a 2% fire dues payment for next year in 2026. And the fire department will then also be scheduled for an on-site audit as well. Again, as always, please reach out with any questions or concerns. Also, starting January and going through middle of May, our fire coordinators will be conducting our 2026 2% fire dues funding program audits. Our program conducted 213 audits in 2025 with 185 fire departments in substantial compliance, which obviously means they passed their audits, and 28 fire departments were found to be not in substantial compliance and violation earlier this year in 2025. And our goals for 2026 for 2% fire dues audits include conducting 240 audits next year, which is roughly 62 audits per district. Also, with all 28 2025 non-compliant fire departments being re-audited in 2026 as well. And again, please contact us if you have any questions or concerns about the upcoming 2% fire dues funding program audits. And a final look ahead to 2026 for our fire prevention, fire department safety and health program. Our team will be expanding our outreach training next year to include our fire program team presenting our SPS 330, how it fits into your fire department training schedule class, and also the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation Attributes of Leading class at the 2026 Wisconsin Society of Emergency Services Instructors Conference in Rhinelander in February, the 20th and 21st. And our team will also be presenting our statewide community risk reduction scope and strategic plan at the 2026 National Vision 2020 Community Risk Reduction Symposium in North Carolina, also in February 24th to 26th. And our team, again, is looking forward to offer our fire prevention, fire department safety, health fall outreach training program next year, again, from August through November with brand new training topics. If you have any training subject, any training topics that you would like us to present next year in 2026, please just reach out to any of our team members and we will definitely take a look at it and hopefully present your topic. And of course, we are always looking forward to assisting and supporting our Wisconsin fire departments and communities all year long. Again, please contact our Wisconsin Fire Program team if you have any questions or concerns. We will help and support you and your fire department any way that we can. Thank you all so very much for your time. Please have a safe and very happy holiday season. Please take care. Stay safe.
Thank you, Gary. Next up, we have Matt Jansen from our Pouts team. Matt, are you there?
Yes, I am. All right. Well, welcome everybody. I'd like to give you, well, first of all, my name's Matt Jansen, Pouts plan reviewer with the state, primarily in the field operations. And I'll be giving you a little bit of an update about what's been going on in the Pouts program. Similar to what you saw in the fire program, we've been doing lots of training in the past year. Pouts staff were involved in at least 52 training events. Those are the ones we could remember. We've been trying to keep track of those and list how many attendees we have and what we've been involved with. So in 2025 so far, we've got a couple more coming up yet this year. Some smaller events, but we do a monthly Pouts chat every second Tuesday of the month. We have a video training like this. You can come and join us. You can find that through the website. I'm sure most of you are aware of how to navigate the department website. But if you get into the Pouts section, you'll find information there where you can sign up and get the links to attend our monthly Pouts chats that we have, variety topics related to Pouts and the credentials that we regulate. We also did 4 soil pop-up sessions. These were some smaller, more intimate, like 15 folks, where we would get out there and go out into the field and view some soils in the soil pit. Really good hands-on training, again, smaller groups where it's really good place to interact, ask some questions, see stuff up front, and not be lost in a large classroom kind of setting. We plan on doing some more of those again next year. We also did our 2-day beginner soils. We did 2 of those. We have a spring and a fall. We anticipate probably doing that again this upcoming year. We're going to have some more training sessions to allow those folks that are just getting into soil testing or a good review of those that are doing soil testing for on-site systems, to learn the soils, or again, have a nice review of that. We also did a virtual soils class. We understand that, especially with only 2 locations in the state, going out to a physical location, again, it's nice to have that hands-on, go through the classroom and get your hands-on training, but we understand that it's difficult sometimes to travel or, not only to have the 2 days off, but also to include travel time. So we did a virtual soils last winter. We're going to be doing that again this year, where it's our 2-day class, but just virtually. And we spread that out actually over 4 days. So it's not quite so burdensome or mind-jarring, I guess, to sit for 2 full days of virtual training. But we plan on doing that again. We also last year did a virtual design class, which we'll also be again offering here, and I'll have another slide showing that. But we're going through the design classes, so conventional systems, passive pretreatments, and then a mound design. So leading people through that process on how to go through, do the designs, learn the component manuals, learn the code, and apply that to a design. We also hosted a 2-day county agent training. I think this is going to be our 5th year in a row that we've done that. And that's really integral. And the counties, as our agents, are out there doing the day-to-day inspections, permit issuance, things like that. They're sort of our feet on the ground kind of thing. And it's really instrumental for us to maintain that relationship with the county agents. So we put on a 2-day agent training with the counties to get them really involved, or get them the education on what they need to do to effectively do their job. Plus, in addition, those are just the ones that we sponsor through the department. Plus, there's various trade group, private organizations, and local government sponsored training, such as, the counties may put on a training or groups, and we'd be involved with that. So quite a bit of training that we were involved with in the last year. Put a little graph here together. The orange number is the total number of credit hours. So for instance, if we went to a training class that was 3 hours long, we presented an hour. So the total number of credits would be 3 hours, but if we only presented for one, that would be for our staff, which is represented in the blue. So we're providing, and there were other ones that we weren't even involved in that would obviously make the total number of credit hours provided much larger. But the ones that we were involved with, we're putting on either solo or involved with them a significant number of credits. We're approaching 6,000 contact hours that we're providing through our staff, and then involved with that are helping promote the larger group of almost 14,000 contact hours of education and training. So it's a real significant number that we're getting out there and providing that education, providing that input. And, it's not just continuing education to get a license, but it's also continuing education to maintain relevancy with the code and new technology and things that are going on in the industry. What are some upcoming training events that we have? These are the ones that, again, you can go through a website, through the POUTS program, and we do have a link for our upcoming training called Book When is when you can register for that. It gives you the links. But we have our monthly POUTS chats. We just had one yesterday for our December POUTS chat and one of our Zoom meeting. Then we're having one in obviously in January, February, and March. We also had some other educational opportunities, and more will fill in here as we get them approved, like the 2-day county training hasn't yet been posted. That'll be in March. But our design training classes that we have are posted on there. That's going to be Wednesday at 10 a.m. and at 1 p.m. on the 14th of January. And then we have our basic soils 21st, 22nd, and 28th, 29th of January. So if you're interested in those or anything else we might have coming up, or when we do have a notification list for soil pop-ups, usually those are very short notice. As those come up next year, once ground thaws out, you can get on notification list, and as the pop-ups appear, there might be one in your area. And if you're interested in attending that, we'll just send an email out to notify everybody that there'll be a registration for it. But just be aware that our site, we've got quite a bit of information on there. Also wanted to mention a little bit about plan review, the status of where we're at. So as of today, we're just a few plans behind, just a couple dozen behind our totals for 2024. So in the scope of things, 2024 was the busiest that we've had since 2008. So it's been, a pretty productive year for us in a number of plans that we process. And we've consistently met our under 15-day goal, and typically we're closer to 10 is what we've been hanging around. And, plan review, I'm going to get a little bit more into how many plans we've done and sort of what that picture looks like. Hopefully in next quarter, I'll be able to present to you. We're also going to do audits of our agents, but since the year hasn't closed out, I don't have any of that information for you yet. But hopefully next quarter, we'll have some audit information, which gives us a little bit better picture of what's going on, because as plans go, our program only does about a third or so, 30% of the total number of plans out there. The others are done at the local county level. So when I get permit data, that'll give us a lot better picture of what's going on and comparing it to other years. But as plan review goes, it seems to be shaping up to be a fairly busy year, because we're doing, as much, if not more, than we've done any time recently. So what does a plan review look like for us? Here you can sort of see a graph that, it's been fairly uniform, but we're just slowly creeping up there. Again, we haven't completed the year yet, but I think we're only about like 50 some plans out from what we were last year. So I'm pretty sure that we will manage to attain that by the end of the year. But just sort of gives you an idea of what our state plan reviews have done. And also over these years, we've had a few more counties pick up agent status. So that actually draws away the number of permits number of plans that we do process. But we are up there, and we're staying, fairly robust in the amount of plans that we are reviewing at the state level. And as part of that, we also have what we call interpretive determination reports that we do. It's a specialized soil report. And I've only been tracking that for the last 2 years, but you can see there that we've been getting much busier with those. So the interpretive reports, for those that aren't aware of it, those are usually done on the more difficult sites. There's a specific site requirements that may require these reports to be done. But as time goes by, more and more how do I want to say, good land is used up, and we get into more and more tough sites, or filled sites would be one of the places where we'd have these reports that are done. And so those have been creeping up for us also substantially. But anyway, just sort of give you a view of that's what's been going on with plans. We're keeping busy up there, and we're staying ahead, and hopefully I'll have a lot more information for you next quarter when I get some audit information in. Other than that, that's all I have for POUTS.
Thank you, Matt. And last this afternoon, we have Jason Stubble from our fire suppression fire alarm group. Jason, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. A quick disclaimer. Today's topics were chosen by fellow colleagues as they have been identified as being commonly misinterpreted with the adoption of the new standards. Our hope here is that by addressing them in this forum, we will allow for more efficient plan review for the process for submitters and consistency with the plan reviewers. Excuse me. With that said, good afternoon. My name is Jason Stubble. I'm one of the fire suppression fire alarm consultants with the state of Wisconsin DSPS. Second here. Did I just change the screen setting on that? There we go. How's that look? There we go. I've been asked to provide a short presentation on the basics of smoke detector spacing per the new 2019 NFPA 72. There are many factors that go into detector placement. Some broad common factors are the occupancy type, known hazards within the building, and the ceiling design, which includes, if the height of it, the ceiling type, if it's hip or pitched, vaulted. We're not going to be addressing all the configurations for this presentation, as we're going to discuss the most common applications. And they are smoke detector spacing for the smooth ceiling, beam construction on a smooth ceiling, and smoke detector spacing in rooms that are 900 square feet or less. With that, in most cases, the designer will use the manufacturer's published instructions, or as we know them as manufacturer cut sheets, for the specific spacing requirements for that particular smoke detector. In any case, should the designer not utilize the smoke detector's published documentation, then the section in 2019 NFPA 72 applies. And that section is stated there, 17.7.3.2.3.1. And that states, in the absence of specific performance-based design criteria, one of the following requirements shall apply. Number one, the distance between the smoke detectors shall not exceed the nominal spacing of 30 feet, and there shall be detectors within a distance of 1/2 the nominal spacing measured at right angles from all walls or partitions extending upward to within 15% of the ceiling height. And two, all points on the ceiling shall have a detector within a distance equal to or less than 0.7 times the nominal 30-foot spacing. So what does that all mean? If you take a look at the image for the detector spacing on the smooth ceiling here in the image, remember the design criteria, number one from the previous slide. You must have a smoke detector within 1/2 of the nominal spacing from the walls. So 1/2 of 30 feet is 15 feet. In the image, you will see a total of 6 yellow circles, each with a 30-foot diameter. These circles represent the area coverage by a spot smoke detector based on a nominal spacing of 30 feet as required in NFPA 72. Each detector is 15 feet from the walls and 30 feet apart. But you ask, what about the white non-covered areas that are in that image? This is where section criteria number 2 comes into play from the previous slide. And if you recall, that stated the detector within a distance equal to or less than 0.7 times the nominal 30 feet spacing. So you must ensure that all the areas of the ceiling have coverage within 0.7 times of this 30-foot amount. To find this out, you simply just multiply 30 feet by 0.7, and that equals 21 feet. Here, right here is a clear image of where this representation is, that corner is covered within 21 feet of that figure. So the intent of the standard has been met. The next topic of discussion will be detector spacing with beam construction and a smooth ceiling per 2019. That section is 17.7.3.2.4.2. There are two design criterias. The first one is for ceilings with beam depths of less than 10% of the ceiling height, the following shall apply. And there's some exceptions there, A and B. And then the other design criteria is number 2, for ceilings with beam depths equal to or greater than 40% of the ceiling pockets, the following shall apply. And there are some additional criteria there as written in A and B. So what does that all mean? So like a step 1, you'd calculate the 10% threshold for the beam depth by converting your total ceiling height to inches, and then multiply the ceiling height in inches by 0.1 to find that 10% threshold. Like an example would be like a 12-foot ceiling would equal 144 inches. The 10% threshold is 14.4 inches. The step 2 would be to evaluate the beam depth and beam spacing. If the beam depth is less than 10% of the ceiling height, standard smooth ceiling spacing applies. Detectors can be placed on underside of the beams or on the ceiling with no adjustments needed for the beams themselves. If the beam depth is 10% or greater of the ceiling heights, you'd have to proceed to evaluate the beam spacing or place the detectors in each individual ceiling pockets as illustrated here. Next area of discussion is detector spacing in rooms 900 square feet or less. Of course, there's a section in the 2019 NFPA 72, and that is 17.7.3.2.4.2. For level ceilings, the following shall apply. For rooms of 900 square feet or less, the following shall apply. You can see that as illustrated in A and B. So pretty much this section will apply to like small mechanical rooms, stock rooms, electrical closets, other compartments where the fire hazard or the risk are about equivalent to the rest of the normally occupied portions of the building. Where smoke detectors are installed in a room of only 900 square feet or less, the fire can be detected sufficiently early enough to achieve the objective. So remember the 0.7 time rule or the 21 feet for 30-foot coverage as discussed previously would still apply in this application as well. Thank you for your time, and if you have any general questions, you can submit those questions to the Fire Protect box at wisconsin.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. And thank you to everyone who joined us this afternoon. Again, this was the final webinar of 2025. If we don't speak to you, we hope you have a good holidays. Be safe, and we will have more for you next year. Thank you.